Well, rare treat for you guys at home today. We get to work out how the hell I'm supposed to review a movie that I can't tell you anything about. Sure, why not? This whole year has been an interminable puzzle, more complicated than any more reason to be, so why should the end of it be any different? Alright, let's do this. Phantom Thread is one of the year's very best films, an immediately apparent Oscar contender of startling power, visual splendor, subtly understated writing, impeccably acted and directed with a precision that recalls the very best of Stanley Kubrick, and indeed impressive even when weighed against the already formidable filmography of director Paul Thomas Anderson. It is without exaggeration a masterpiece, as fine a work of film as art, visual storytelling, and character drama as you could hope to see amid the ocean of middlebrow pablum that is the so-called award season of moviegoing. And I can't tell you a goddamn thing about it. Why? You see, the film press, which somehow what I do here apparently qualifies me as, have been gently encouraged to preserve the film's secrets in reviews. Now, normally I'm not super concerned about that kind of thing. It tends to get trotted out when the studio has determined that an artificial air of mystery is going to be part of the film's marketing push, and I resent being asked to frame my review as either a positive or negative fashion that makes me a de facto part of that very marketing machinery. But in this case, I can see what the whole hubbub is all about, and indeed would feel compelled to not give away the game even if it wasn't something being expected as part of the release, because the very gradual, slow-building, layer-by-layer reveal of what Phantom Thread is actually about is a huge part of why it's such a fascinating and satisfying creation. And frankly, the only review I want to give of it is to reiterate that it's a stunner, that you should go see it for yourself as soon as possible, and let that be the end of it. Unfortunately, that's not the kind of review Geek.com is paying me to deliver. Right on them. So, no spoilers, but I am going to talk about the characters and the basic setup, and I still encourage those of you able to see the movie for themselves currently to please go do so and watch the rest of this afterwards. Or, let it play with the sound off or something. Do what you gotta do. Anyway, Phantom Thread is a dark psychological drama set in the world of British high fashion in the 1950s, centered on the work of Daniel Day-Lewis in what is said to be his final performance as a legendary designer of classically glamorous ladies' dresses named Reynolds Woodcock. I will give you a minute to just get that one out of your system. Okay, so Woodcock, guys, oh, come on, I gave you room. Lives a life as meticulous and precisely ordered as the conditions of his workshop, commanding a phalanx of seamstresses with military precision and leaving the management of his house proper to the iron-willed temperament of his manager, who also happens to be his sister Cyril. He's a genius and an artist, prone to melancholy and tantrums of pique when distractions intrude on his carefully arranged life, but when he meets a new muse in the person of a young waitress named Alma while out on holiday, he can't resist inviting her into his life, even up to the point of asking her to marry him and making her something like an assistant head model for his business, which is threatened by the looming specter of the rapidly changing tastes of the fashion world. But while at first submissive and demure, Alma's presence soon grows more assertive in ways that initially thrill Woodcock, but also begin to repel him. And that's all I can say about where this story is. There's a lot more to it than that, I just can't tell you anymore, save to say that the film takes a very sudden plot turn at about midpoint, and while never precisely veering off course in the manner of a show-offy twist, just keeps taking more and more turns to the point where you're constantly uncertain and second-guessing yourself about what sort of film you thought this was, whose story it was being told in the first place, and what you were supposed to be taking away from it. And yet, remarkably, it always feels fair and inevitable once the pieces fall into place, even as I don't think it's truly clear what kind of story we were being told in the first place until the final moments of the film. Every time Phantom Thread turns a corner, it feels like it was the only possible way it could have gone. That takes a staggering level of control over tone, story, and the performances of the actors. Even more so when you take into account how detailed and deep the film is on a technical level. For a work that takes place mostly indoors and really only has 3 significant characters, it looks and feels like a sprawling epic simply by virtue of how much is packed into each frame. The actors, of course, are what ultimately carry the day. Whether you honestly believe that we'll never see Daniel Day-Lewis again or not, Reynolds Woodcock is yet another excellent characterization from one of the finest actors ever to take up the form. He's asked to take this character to some dizzyingly extreme places while also playing him as a man who just doesn't do extreme as a matter of emotional expression. And that it doesn't become absurd is a real testament to just how good he is. Luxembourgian actress Vicky Craigs, who is a relative newcomer to films of this scale, delivers what can only be fairly described as a star-making turn as Alma, and Leslie Manville is beyond excellent as Woodcock's sister. Beyond that, all I can really tell you is that it's an understated must-see and one of the best films of 2017. 4 stars. Now, go find out what it's about on your own.